Imagine waking up after 2 straight weeks of relentless rain. Your food is gone. Your bowstring is soaked. The flood has washed away every animal trail. Inside the cave, the fire is fading, and the children are too weak to cry. For our ancient ancestors, this wasn't fiction. It was a brutal reality repeated year after year. By every rule of survival, the rainy season should have wiped humans out. But somehow, they survived. Not because they were stronger, not because they were luckier, but because they learned how to defeat an invisible killer that arrived with every storm, one even more dangerous than hunger itself. Stay with me. Tonight, you'll survive the rainy season the way your ancestors once did, from the first drop of rain to the last, and discover why their struggle is the reason you're alive today. The rain hasn't killed you, not yet, but your body is already fighting a battle you can't see. Every drop of cold water pulls heat away from your skin far faster than dry air. Before long, you begin to shiver. It's not fear. It's your muscles burning precious energy in a desperate attempt to keep your core warm. Then your fingers grow numb. Holding a spear becomes difficult. Tying a knot takes twice as long. Even thinking clearly starts to feel strangely hard. This is hypothermia, one of the deadliest threats our ancestors faced during long, cold rains. It doesn't strike all at once. It slowly steals your strength, your coordination, and your judgment, often before you realize you're in real danger. But the cruelest part comes at the end. As your body temperature drops too low, your brain can create a terrifying illusion. Instead of feeling cold, you suddenly feel warm. Some victims have even removed their own clothing, convinced the danger had passed, when in reality they were only minutes from death. The rain doesn't need to drown you. It simply waits for your body to lose its heat. That's why, long before worrying about the next meal, your tribe has only one priority: stay warm. Because if you lose that battle, there won't be another sunrise to worry about. Tonight, you're the one guarding the fire. Outside, rain pounds the forest without mercy. Inside the cave, a handful of glowing embers is all that stands between your tribe and the cold. Starting a new fire in a soaked forest is nearly impossible, so your ancestors rarely took that risk. During the dry season, they gathered dead wood, split it into smaller pieces, and stored it deep inside the shelter, protecting it like food itself. A single dry stick could mean another night of survival. But fire alone wasn't enough. A shelter had to keep the rain out before the fire could keep anyone warm. Branches were layered to shed water, while animal hides and bedding lifted sleeping bodies off the cold, damp ground that constantly drained away precious heat. All it took was one leak in the roof, or one night when the firekeeper fell asleep, and the entire tribe could wake up cold, wet, and dangerously close to hypothermia. Surviving the rainy season wasn't about making a bigger fire. It was about never letting the last one die. Once the rain had soaked the forest, chasing animals became a losing game. Every step through deep mud wasted energy. Every sprint carried the risk of injury. So instead of chasing prey, your ancestors learned to wait. As rivers overflowed, many animals were forced onto higher ground or funneled through narrow paths between rising water. Those natural bottlenecks became the perfect places to set pit traps, snares, or heavy deadfall traps. The flood wasn't just an obstacle anymore. It became part of the hunt. Even the mud helped. Fresh footprints revealed where animals had passed only hours before, turning the ground itself into a map that skilled hunters could read. Instead of fighting the rain, they learned to make it work for them. But sometimes, the forest had nothing left to offer, so your eyes turned to the rising river. Floodwaters often carried fish into shallow pools and temporary channels where escaping became difficult. Within hours, the tribe could switch strategies completely. Stonefish weirs guided fish into narrow passages. Woven baskets became simple but effective traps. Hunters waded through the cloudy water, driving fish toward waiting companions armed with spears or nets. The land had stopped feeding you. The water had taken its place. For our ancestors, survival was never about relying on a single source of food. It was about adapting before hunger forced them to. The rain has lasted for weeks. Fresh meat is becoming harder to find, but tonight, your tribe is still eating. Not because you hunted today, but because you prepared months ago. During the dry season, successful hunters didn't treat abundance as a reward. They treated it as a warning. Extra meat was sliced into thin strips and slowly smoked over the fire, allowing it to last for weeks or even months. Every piece stored away was a promise that the tribe could survive when the forest stopped providing. Now imagine another tribe. When food was plentiful, they celebrated. They ate until they were full, trusting tomorrow would be just as generous as today. Then the rains came. By the third week, their supplies were gone. While one tribe faced starvation, the other was simply eating yesterday's sunshine. The rainy season was never won after the clouds arrived. It was won long before the first drop of rain ever fell. Even the best food stores eventually ran low. That's when your tribe searched for whatever the rain had brought to life. Fat grubs beneath rotting logs, snails crawling across wet ground, and edible shoots pushing through the soaked soil. But finding them required something more valuable than strength. It required memory. The oldest members of the tribe could no longer run with the hunters. Yet they remembered which roots became safe after cooking, which leaves eased hunger, and which plants could kill with a single mistake. In the hardest weeks of the rainy season, knowledge became food. Then came the final test. There wasn't enough for everyone to eat their fill. Hunters needed strength to bring back the next meal. Children had to survive because they were the future. The elders were protected because they carried the knowledge that kept everyone else alive. It wasn't kindness alone. It was survival. And as another night of rain echoed beyond the cave, the oldest voices began telling stories of storms even worse than this one. Storms the tribe had already endured. Those stories did more than pass the time. They kept fear from becoming panic. They reminded everyone that the rain would end, that the forest would recover, and that when the skies finally cleared, the tribe would be ready. Our ancestors didn't survive the rainy season because they were stronger than nature. They survived because they prepared, adapted, shared what they had, and refused to lose hope. And every storm they endured is one of the reasons you're here today. But knowledge alone wasn't enough. No one survived the rainy season alone. While the strongest hunters searched for food, others stayed behind to keep the fire alive. Some repaired the shelter after every storm. Others gathered dry branches whenever the rain eased, knowing the next downpour could last for days. Even children helped by carrying kindling, collecting edible plants, or watching younger siblings while the adults worked. Every person had a role, and every role mattered. Modern studies of hunter-gatherer societies suggest that cooperation wasn't just a moral value. It was one of humanity's greatest evolutionary advantages. Food was often shared across the group because no hunter succeeded every day. A successful hunt fed everyone, while a failed hunt didn't mean facing starvation alone. The rainy season made one lesson impossible to ignore. An individual could be incredibly skilled, but a tribe survived because its members depended on one another. In a world where the weather could erase weeks of effort overnight, cooperation became just as essential as fire, shelter, or food itself.